I'm in Munich at DLD, special show, TechCrunch TV on the road. I'm with John Miller, who was formerly Chief Digital Officer at News Corp. John, welcome to DLD and TechCrunch TV.
Thank you.
John, you're on a panel here called What's Next? You ran digital media for how many years at News Corp?
Approximately 4.
So you know, if anybody, as much about what's next in digital media. Where do you see the future of digital media from a content point of view, from the point of view of a large media group like News Corp?
So from a large media company point of view, one of the big questions is whether underlying content rights and value will be the most valued, or channels and other forms of distribution. Traditionally, it's been channels that have been the most valued. And I think we're seeing an overall trend, an arc to the underlying content itself. It will become the most valuable thing. And only a few companies produce really a lot of great content and do so at scale. And so I think it's, for the big companies, that's what they have to pay attention to.
John, we've been hearing this though for years, almost since the mid-90s, that content is king and that you can't have the internet without valuable content. Why do we keep hearing it, and what is the problem?
It's a great question, because I could take the other side of what I said for that reason. The issue has been that distribution is constrained. And when distribution is constrained, power and value accrue to distributors who can break through that. If you believe so, the digital era promises the ability for more distribution outlets to open up. And with that, the content itself becomes more valuable. Now, right now, today, though you could say the world's going the opposite way. Between Apple, Amazon, Netflix, a very few distributors are still amassing power. But I believe the digital age, over time, opens up distribution.
But what will that mean? Will it mean that Apple will blow up television? Will it mean that cable TV will have to be reinvented? Does it mean that the publishing industry needs to be rebuilt?
Yes. All of the above.
But what's it actually going to mean? What's next in the next year or
so
two?
let's take different pieces. So I'll try to remember what you said in reverse order.
Well, TV, books,
so books.
Music.
So books have been, I call it the unit of consumption, has been a book. It's a 150, 200 or more page thing, and that you buy in a store. Why does it have to be that? It can be a book, and it can be of whatever length, it can be a chapter, it can be excerpts, it can be all kinds of things. So I think publishing has a very interesting future, book publishing, as long as it realizes its product line has to become more diversified. And then it can offer all of those in electronic forms. And in fact, by making them electronic, you can do all of that much more facilely, much more easily. So I think book publishing is interesting, but you have to think of it not just as a book as we know it, but all these different forms coming out of the basic content that a book is.
Well, Amazon have recently have a new product in the store. When you buy a physical CD, it will automatically go in the cloud.
Yeah.
Yes. But they're struggling on the book front, because I was talking to someone from Amazon, fairly senior person from Amazon yesterday, who said that the publishers won't buy into this.
The publishers are getting there. They will get there bit by bit, because you have to. And it's actually, I think, good for book publishing, because again, it expands the product line. That's a good thing. It brings more people in who can buy different pieces of what you have to offer. So I actually am relatively bullish on the topic of book publishing, if you think of it in this way.
And you of course know this sphere fairly intimately, because News Corp had a major investment in publishing.
HarperCollins, yes.
What about television? You probably know as much about the digitalization of television as anyone. Where are we in that cycle?
Yeah, so this television is really the battleground. So first of all, in terms of consumption of video, which is going up any way you want to measure it, television's the battleground. Why? More than film. It used to be film. For example, a company like Netflix started by amassing film rights. Amazon and what it's doing amassed film rights. But the battle has shifted. The viewing consumption is television now. And that's not hard to think why it might be. If I get you interested in one series, that might be 10, 12, or multiple years series of episodes. So it's a lot of viewing versus one movie to the next movie to the next movie. So television has become the battleground for viewing and for economics. So the question is, what is going to reside where in that chain?
Why are you smiling?
Because it's really undecided, and it's really getting figured out. And in the United States, for example, the traditional cable and satellite distributors are trying to get as much rights as they can.
Right.
Hulu and Netflix are trying to get as much rights as they can. Over here in Europe now, you have Love Films and Netflix, as well as the Skies doing different things. It is the battleground, the end of which will be much more content, especially television content, will be available to people for in smaller bundles than what they've traditionally had to pay for to get a large bundle of content.
And what might, and because I'm always thinking about Apple, especially when it comes to television, what might a new piece of Apple hardware and a new Apple interface, how could that change everything?
Well, what I think Apple is interested in doing, and this is what they've done every market they've entered, is fundamentally change the experience.
Right.
And so it's not just buying rights, and it's not just saying we have a screen and it's a beautiful screen. It's really, the way they think is, how can we change this experience? How can we eliminate some of the problems that consumers have in different areas? And that, when you think like that, you get into thinking about, well, DVRs in your house or DVRs in the cloud? Why can't I see a program at 7:02 if I came home 2 minutes late instead of 7 o'clock when it started? You know, why do all these things have to exist? And are they technology or are they rights? And the answer is they're both. But if Apple typically will try to solve the technology and then go get the rights.
What about music, John? Have products like Spotify and Rhapsody solved the crisis in the music industry? And at least the recorded music industry.
Yeah, I think for the first time you can start to see a bottom, and maybe it goes up from there because of streaming services like Spotify. Because I believe in streaming, not downloading, right? So first of all, so I think streaming services give a chance. I've been surprised at the overall slowness of them to take off, and the fact that Spotify is so way ahead surprises me, because I would have thought there'd be many competitors who would be close, and that would show a general adoption. So it's still slow. But music is a fundamental behavior. People like to listen to music, and so it will over time prove out. And I believe it will be, all you can eat streaming services that have the best chance.
So, John, you work very closely with Mr. Newspaper, Rupert Murdoch, a guy whose heart perhaps was used more than his head in some of his investments in newspapers. Where are we at in terms of what's next with the newspapers? Have paywalls solved the crisis, the death spiral of newspapers?
I think look. First of all, the industry as a whole is contracting. There will be less newspapers, and they will generate less total revenue than last decade, and that's already happening. And the question is, what will survive out of that? And I think paywalls, and I personally gravitate towards freemium models, but some version of paid content needs to survive in order for the industry as a whole to have investigative journalism.
What's the best freemium model you've seen? Would you call the FT or the New York Times a freemium model?
Yes, I would call it, particularly the New York Times, the FT less so.
And what about the Journal?
The Journal actually functions as that, but isn't advertised as that, and I think, and that's one of the things.
And the London Times definitely isn't.
Is not. That's right.
So you think that the New York Times model is a better one than the London Times?
Yes.
Now you've left News Corp, you can say
no,
that.
but that's not news to people there either. I believe that freemium models are the best form of paid model that we have so far.
John, you left News Corp in October of last year. What are you doing now? What's next for you?
So yes, I'm in all of these areas. I think there are opportunities for upstarts, startups, and new companies. So I've been working to put together companies in these different areas of entertainment and tech media, and even sports, that I think can be next generation companies.
As an investor, as
yes.
a partner, as an
entrepreneur? Investor and partner, yes.
And what's the name of the company?
No announcements yet, so I don't have that for you today.
But if we have a large audience of media entrepreneurs watching this, how should they contact you if they have interesting ideas?
Oh, jfmiller10@gmail.com.
Well, jfmiller10 at
gmail.com.
Pleasure to have you.
Thank you very much.
At DLD and on TechCrunch TV, and I hope you'll be back again very soon to tell us about this new mysterious company.
Terrific.
Thank you.
Thank you.